you kind of talk about the risk and the price that has to be paid, and that there's a price for everything.
There's a what's his name, Scott Adams, who is the publisher of the Dilbert comic. He writes
Yep.
in one of his books that, you know, good advice for a lot of things, the key to a lot of things in life is just figure out what the price is and then pay it. Be willing to pay it.
Yep.
Really simple, obvious idea, but it goes really far. And people need to understand in investing, what is the price of investing? Like, you can do really well over time. The rewards are obvious, but what is the price?
Yep.
Nothing's free. What is investing going to take out of you? What's the cost of admission? And it's, to me, it's obvious. If you think about it in those terms, it's obvious what the cost of admission is in investing. It's uncertainty and volatility.
Yep.
And you have to be willing to pay that price. If you are not willing to pay it, you're basically trying to sneak in. You're
Yep.
trying to jump over the fence and not pay the admission price. And it's not going to work out well. So I think you have to me as an investor, it's been looking at it and saying, okay, volatility and uncertainty is the price of admission. It's worth the price of admission.
Yep.
Like the fee is worth it, but I just need to be willing to pay it and
Yep.
put up with the volatility, not try to avoid it, not try to sneak in without paying the price. I just need to put up with it
Yep.
and endure it and deal with it and situate my finances so that I'm able to endure it and deal with it. And once you view it as a price worth paying rather than a fine,
Yep.
you know, that's the difference. I make the distinction in the book, the difference between a fee and a fine.
Yep.
A fee is something that you are willing to pay, that you
Yep.
pay $100 to get into Disneyland, but it's worth it. You're happy to pay it to get in. A fine is something that you should avoid. A fine is like you screwed up.
Yep.
And a lot of people view volatility as a fine. Like, oh, my portfolio was down 20%. I did something wrong. I was
Yep.
fined and I should try to not do that again.
Yep.
And that's not how I view it. I view a 20% decline as the fee. That's
Yep.
the cost of admission. And if you view it as like, look, I'm not happy about this.
Yep.
I wasn't thrilled in March of 2020, but if you just change your mindset to view it as a fee, then it's like, okay, this is the price that I pay for getting to double my money every decade on average.
Right.
And I just think that subtle shift is really important in investing.
Right.
And like the general assumption that the market should not fall 30%, because a 30% decline in a lot of people's eyes means that something is broken. The
Yep.
economy is broken. It's like the equivalent of, like, I think most people view a market like they're flying in an airplane. If you're
Yep.
flying in an airplane, your tolerance for a malfunction is zero.
Yep.
Like if the engine goes out, like not good, not good, not
All
good.
right.
This is a big problem. And they view the investing the same thing. So if a market falls 30%, not good. Like the airplane's going down, get out,
Yeah.
jump out of the plane with your parachute on.
Right.
And it's not that at all. Like if you realize that a 30% decline is normal historically, happens about once per decade on average,
Yep.
then when it happens, again, it's not fun, but you're like, okay, like I knew this is going to happen. I expected this to happen. It's not fun, but it's okay. This is part
Right.
of the process. And when the market is going up, it's easy to kind of try to imagine what it would be like in a bear market. So when everything's going well and you ask investors, how are you going to feel if the market declines 20%? It's easy for those people to be like, oh, that'd be fine, because they're living in a great economic moment and they're optimistic and they can't really contextualize what is going to happen to the world that is going to drag the market down 30%. It's going to be something like COVID-19 or 2008 that fundamentally shifts your ability to be optimistic about the world. So that's why people's perception, even when they try to be cognizant of what's going to happen, of what might happen, how they might feel if the market declines, tends to not actually map out to how they actually act when it does decline.
Yep.
And therefore, the best way to like think about your own risk tolerance is not asking yourself when things are going well, not asking yourself how you would feel if things turn south.
Yep.
It's to look at your past behavior and realize that if you sold in March of this year or in 2008 or in 2001, that is probably indicative of how you are likely to behave in the future.
Yep.
And that's fine. You shouldn't be ashamed of that. You should just embrace that with both hands.
Yep.
You have a lower risk tolerance and you should probably have a less aggressive asset allocation than you have in the past.
Yep. No, it's a great insight. You know, it's so interesting about the market and the economy is that it's always something new. Like we've seen the depression, the Great Recession, we've seen these things. And so you're always like, okay, well, we lived through that, right? What could make this market go down, right? And then we have COVID and we're like, oh yeah, we haven't had a freaking pandemic in 100 years. No one's seen it, right? And it's alive. And you're like, this is a brand new thing. And even that, what's so interesting about what's happening now is the economy's down. It's in the toilet, right? It's like unemployment's through the roof. so many people, it's like the economy is not functioning very well. The Fed is printing money. The market has come roaring back, and you're kind of like, all right, everyone's like, what's happening? How's this going to play out? Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, not only was the decline, not something that we could have foreseen, but the rally since then. I mean, the S&P 500 is up year to date.
yep.
It's insane.
Right.
So that rally has been equally unpredictable as well. So it's like even if you had a crystal ball that you could have seen March of 2020 coming, unless you saw the subsequent rally that's taken place since then, like it's been once you realize how difficult that would have been, those two series events would have been to predict. You
Yep.
again, I think, just start leaning more towards a passive. How can I endure volatility and just have an investment plan that lets me just set it in place and then go about the rest of my life, whatever happens,
Yep.
is the best way to go for most people.
Yeah.